The Pakistani establishment needs support from outside for financial reasons, as much as it does for security, two dimensions that are sometimes difficult to disentangle. Without American money, Pakistan would not have been able to make ends meet during some phases of its history. But its recurrent, chronic state of financial crisis, as I suggested above, has fiscal roots. Pakistan is one of the countries with the lowest tax burden in the world, as Shahid Javed Burki and Adnan Nazimullah show in Chapter 6. Tax to gross domestic product, GDP, ratio rose from 9% in 1964 to 1965 to 14% in 1990 before returning to 8.9% in 2013.9. It further diminished to 7% in 2014, 10 because, among other things, of the doubling of tax exemptions, 477.1 billion rupees, including 96.2 billion rupees on income tax, which shows that the government continued with its pro-rich policy. Point 11. THSA figures are also due to fraud. One specialist estimated in the 1990s that less than 1% of the people who are supposed to pay income tax do so. Point 12. Things have not improved considerably since then. In 2013, the income tax to GDP ratio has fallen to 3.5%, with taxpayers numbering about 1.5 million people. Point 13. Is state of things is the REF election of a robust convergence of interests of the establishment elite groups, including the politicians and the army chiefs. But the convergence does not stop there. The political economy of Pakistan harks back to the early years of the Muslim League. Indeed, the separatism advocated by Jinnah's party proceeded, to a large extent, from power-hungry elites who combined clerical competence and an aristocratic lineage, but who were about to suffer a drop in status because of the rise of their Hindu rivals. Their aspiration to perpetuate a dominant status played a structuring role in the crystallization of the two-nation theory.
AFT partition, elites, quest for domination.
And their sense of entitlement found expression in the monopolization of power by Mohajir politicians. Soon after, the latter were gradually replaced by feudals, and after the 1958 coup, by army men. Since then, politicians and the army have been locked in a conflict for decades in Pakistan, as evident from their alternation in power every 10 years or so. But a form of modus vivendi, even of convergence, has emerged. There is a natural tendency of occasional observers of Pakistan to point out an opposition between the forces of freedom associated with civilians and those of oppression, identify ed with the military. Two camps do indeed exist, but to present the former as relying on the body of civilians hostile to the military would be an oversimplified cation, simply because equating civilians with Democrats is highly questionable in Pakistan. The limits of democratization stem from a web of complex factors, including the political culture of the civilians. Since the country's inception, Jinnah, its founding father, a product of the viceregal system, 14 favored the construction of a centralized state over a parliamentary system. His successor, Liaquat Ali Khan, continued in the same vein, reigning in political parties that he saw as divisive forces and even neglecting his own Muslim League, which would never become a national cornerstone similar to the Congress Party in India. The disappearance of these two Mohajir leaders left the democratically inclined Bengalis in a face-off with the Punjabis, who were averse to democracy because of opposite demographic reasons. Bengalis were in a majority, as well as their dominant role in the bureaucracy and the army that democracy would have affected. The Punjabi bureaucrats and the military were not, however, the only ones to reject the democracy ideal backed mainly by the Bengalis. Politicians in Punjab and in West Pakistan in general displayed the same
attitude.
Z.A. Bhutto himself rejected the results of the 1970 elections won by Mujibur Rahman. Not only did the West Pakistani politicians not wish to fall under Bengali rule, but they also embodied a political culture stamped with feudalism, made up more of clientelism and factionalism. Certainly, however, the phase of democratization under Bhutto was without a doubt the most convincing of all, in that the military was brought back under the authority of a civilian government, which gave the country a parliamentary constitution in 1973 and undertook large-scale social reforms. But the momentum did not last long, primarily because of Bhutto's own contradictions. Less a democrat than a populist, more an authoritarian than a parliamentarian, more a centralizer than a federalist, and as much a socialist. As a product of his social background, he turned his back on parts of his platform, and thus on the middle and working classes that supplied much of the Pakistan People's Party (PPP) leadership. 15. To co-opt the landowning elite. 16. Most of all, having little respect for basic freedoms, including that of the press, he denied Pakistan free elections in 1977, giving the army, already reinvigorated by military operations in Baluchistan, the arguments it was waiting for. Period from 1988 to 1999 contrasts with the Bhutto era due to the control the military continued to exercise over civilians who were supposedly back in command. Neither Benazir Bhutto nor Nawaz Sharif would even manage to complete their terms. But if the army has become so powerful, it is also because of the weakness of the political class, some elements of which prefer to collaborate with the military rather than join forces with their democratic adversaries. This was true of Nawaz Sharif, who in a sense was the army's creature and who would play into its hands against Benazir Bhutto, who herself accepted the little bit of power the military allowed her, instead of playing the regime opposition card, as her brother Murtaza had advised. Yet, there is a point in common between the Bhutto years and the 1990s, when Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was finally at the helm with an absolute majority. He abused his power just like his rival's father had, an additional sign of the weakness of democratic culture among civilians. But the political culture of none other than Benazir Bhutto, presented as the most liberal of all, especially in the United States, had just as many flaws as that of her predecessors. One of her close associates, Tariq Ali, summed up the situation that prevailed with the formation of her second cabinet in 1993. The high command of the Pakistan People's Party now became a machine for making money, but without any trickle-down mechanism. This period marked the complete degeneration of the party. A single tradition that had been passed down since the foundation of the party was autocratic centralism. The leader's word was final. Like her father in this respect, Benazir never understood that debate is not only the best medium of confutation, of turning the ideological tables. It is also the most effective form of persuasion.